Good morning, Intenders.
Good morning.
Welcome back to Morning Intentions. Today is Monday, December 8th. We hope you had a lovely weekend, and we're back at it for our month of trust. Last week, we discussed trust as it relates to trusting the love that's within us. Not being oriented towards fear, but being intentional about orienting ourselves, our thoughts, and our hearts towards love. This week, we're continuing on to another aspect of trust, which is trusting what we've learned in our personal development journeys. This is turning inward toward honoring our growth, our insight, and the wisdom that we've already learned. Now you might be saying, well, okay, I haven't been on this personal development journey stuff all that much in my life. Maybe I'm just getting started. I want everyone to know that even during the times you haven't been intentional, like maybe you are now, we've all learned and grown throughout our lives. We're not the same people that we were when we're kids, or when we were teenagers, or when we were young adults. So if we look at what our past has shown us, we're not making those same mistakes. We're not showing up in the same ways. We should be able to find something, even just one thing, where we're not doing what we've done before.
What I've noticed with myself, but mainly with our lovely, wonderful, beloved clients, I don't think there's one of them that doesn't have inner wisdom. Our work with them has been to trust their inner wisdom. For example, if they are on the receiving end of someone's misbehavior, there's something inside of them that knows that's misbehavior. They may not have the tools in their toolbox to set healthy boundaries. There may be codependency. There may be a lack of confidence, but they do know.
They do.
Our position in their lives is to remind them, to provide evidence that you do know. Mainly, what our experience is as coaches is if we say that enough, they'll say, oh, yes, I do know. Oh, I did know, but I did this anyway. That's all part of the process. How many times, Ada, have we shared our experience? We had no clue what we were doing was harmful to our own peace. And then we started doing our personal development work. We started learning that, I don't have to show up this way, or I don't have to allow this misbehavior. And then you and I, we learned, well, we can set some boundaries around this. Knowing you can set a boundary and actually setting a boundary are two different things. So it takes a while to learn how to set the boundaries, especially if you're in a partnership or in any type of partnership, whether it's a business partnership like Ada and I, or if it's a marriage, all the various forms of partnerships, it takes a while also to become united as partners. Don and I were in a situation where he wanted to support me, but didn't really know how to support me. And it took us a few years for him to realize I can actually say what's true for me. This is Don talking. It takes a while. When we're learning to trust our personal development journey, for me, the sentence that I would like to underline for everyone is, please give yourself compassion and grace. Because learning personal development skills takes a while. But as long as you're bringing in self-awareness, you're practicing, you're doing it in some settings, maybe not the hardest settings yet, you're getting there. And that's what we want to celebrate. We want to honor, as Ada said, we want to honor your growth, your insight, and your wisdom.
And what we want to do in those situations, yes, of course, we're going to be intentional. And part of being intentional is being intentional about knowing and being aware of what your growth has been, what your insights are, and the wisdom that you've already learned and that's already inside of you. And what we do in these situations, we call it a win journal, W-I-N. I came up with the idea. Well, I came up with the title. That's the part I came up with. What a win is thinking back to a time where you can see, I have grown. I've done things different, even if it's a tiny bit of different. Even if you've not gotten as mad, that's a win. When you've recognized your insight and you've thought things through and you were intentional, that's a win. When you've trusted your own inner wisdom, that's a win.
When you've chosen love over fear,
that's a win. And all of these times that we've had these wins in our personal development journeys and these wins as part of our lives, we want to write those down.
I think that's really important when you struggle with perfectionism in any way. Because what I've noticed in my life, I can grow and exhibit my growth, but if I don't stop and let myself soak it in, I just go on to the next thing. Or I can say, but I wish I would have spoken up sooner, or I wish I would have, whatever the case may be. And trusting myself grows when I take some time to soak in the wins, not pass them by. Because it's easy to say, I was in this situation. I did choose love over fear. And now I'm off to the next situation. And I didn't stop and say, oh my goodness, isn't it cool? Even if it was just a thought, I chose love over fear. I chose showing up authentically over putting on a mask just to fit in or just so somebody wouldn't be angry with me. Those are the wins. And when we honor our growth, when we honor our new insights, when we honor our inner wisdom and write them down in our win journal, then when we're struggling the next time and we're saying, can I do this? We just take a little time and flip through our win journal and we say, I did do it over here. I said the thing that was really hard to say over here.
One thing Annette reminds me is to look at the trends. And that's what a win journal helps you do. If you can see your history and you see the record of where you have been and all the little changes that you've made, all the different wins, that's the trend. And you can follow that trend to today. And then if you ever have that doubt, that self-doubt that Annette talked about with her own experience, if you're ever thinking, oh man, people are going to think I'm stupid, like I think.
Where you always go.
When you look at your wins, you can bring it back to self-trust.
And we do recommend that your win journal be separate from any other journal.
Right. This is different than gratitude. This is different than a reflection journal. This is different than all those. We want a journal that is just these positive experiences.
Dedicated to celebrating your growth.
Yes.
Dedicated to celebrating self-awareness. And if you start keeping one at the beginning of your personal development journey, you'll see that you start having insights, and then you turn those insights into action. And then you practice. You stumble, you fall, you pick yourself up. And then soon your growth becomes integrated. And that's cause for great celebration.
So our intention for today, I will create a win journal. That's the assignment. Create your win journal. To put that in first person, our intention for today, I will create a win journal for myself. Thank you so much for joining us today and every day. Our day is better because you are part of our day. See you tomorrow.
See you then.